It was a basic report on the countries of the land of origin, including maps, cities, and other fundamental information. Naturally, Luofeng was most interested in the intelligence about the Sure Kingdom. Sure Kingdom, a total of 5 masters. This information was rightfully basic intelligence, merely stating a total of 5 masters regarding the Sure Kingdom's masters. As for the godly king-level beings, what powers they had, what secret treasures they possessed, there was not a single record. Luofeng's expression changed slightly. The Sure Kingdom has 5 masters now? When Master Mountain-sitting guest fled to the universe ocean, there were only 3 masters in the Sure Kingdom, Luofeng thought. The Yu Kingdom hasn't changed much, still with 5 godly kings. During the time Master fled, the Sure Kingdom has grown stronger. Luofeng accepted this quite naturally. Mountain-sitting guest had fled the land of origin, and in the primordial cosmos, he had gone through an entire reincarnation era, even nurturing an outstanding individual like Luofeng. With the aggressive nature of the Sure Kingdom, it was natural for changes to occur over such a long period. 3 masters? 5 masters? For Luofeng, who was still just an eternal true god, there wasn't much of a difference. He wasn't at the godly king level, so he couldn't get involved at all. The Dark Hall still has a large number of bounties, divine monarchs can take a look as well, said the attendant. Luofeng nodded. He effortlessly saw numerous bounty tasks including protection duties, hiring tasks, assassination tasks and so on. There's a bounty to kill the highest commander of the Huyang Legion, Moli Shao. Luofeng was surprised to see this task. The highest commander of Huyang's 10 great legions was one of the most powerful rulers in the entire Huang City. Even the city lord's power might not necessarily surpass that of this highest commander. Yet, there was a bounty in the Flame Wind Association's Dark Hall. As long as there's a client brave enough to issue a task, our Flame Wind Pavilion will dare to place a bounty, the attendant said with a smile. Even if it's a godly king, our Flame Wind Pavilion will post a bounty just the same. The Flame Wind Pavilion indeed has such strength, Luofeng nodded. Huh. Suddenly, a black jade vial appeared out of nowhere, which the attendant handed to Luofeng. Divine Monarch, all the artifact refining materials you requested are here, please inspect them. After Luofeng took it, he saw a massive pile of materials heaped like a mountain. With a single thought, he checked everything thoroughly. There's nothing missing, only extra. Luofeng was very satisfied. With some common materials we only add more, said the attendant. Luofeng nodded, then got up and instructed Morosa, let's go. The attendant personally saw Luofeng out. Inside one of the small buildings of the Flame Wind Pavilion, a figure made of grey fog was leisurely browsing through one piece of information after another when suddenly a burly man walked in. Pavilion Master, the eyes of the figure of grey fog, which were made of mist, looked towards the burly figure. As the Pavilion Master, you leave all matters of the Flame Wind Pavilion to me, an old fellow, to handle entirely by myself. Second uncle, I've troubled you, the burly man immediately said with a smile. What I regret most now is agreeing to the ancestor always following and protecting you. Who would have thought that after leaving the Flame Wind ancient country, you'd wander for over 1,000 eras and still not return, said the figure of grey fog. When do you plan on returning to the clan? I'm starting to miss home. I plan to break through to the primal chaos realm before going back, said the burly man. You, as part of Emperor Chu's lineage and with noble blood, haven't cultivated the bloodline cultivation method but pursued understanding of the laws. I knew of your ambition then, the figure of grey fog remarked. You initially became a true god with unlimited godly bodies without relying on bloodline, and every step you take will be difficult. Actually, our clan's elders usually cultivate their bloodlines first, and only when they hit a bottleneck do they turn to understand the laws. The burly man shook his head, a hint of disdain in his eyes. After taking the straightforward path for countless years and then turning to the difficult road, how many can succeed? They're all mediocre. The figure of grey fog nodded in approval. If you continue along the path of the laws and become a primal chaos overlord, after you return, the clan will certainly train you with all their resources. Because every godly king on the land of origin had broken through by understanding the laws. Becoming a primal chaos overlord is very difficult, the burly figure nodded. The primal chaos laws are much too arcane. He was born on the land of origin, so from a young age, he had a crystal clear sense of various laws. Therefore he felt that the farther he went, the more difficult it became. Luofeng was different. In the era of the primordial cosmos, sensing the laws was extremely vague. So when he arrived at the land of origin, Luofeng was overjoyed. He found the understanding of the primal chaos laws to be rapidly improving. The figure of grey fog saw a new piece of information that had just appeared before him, glanced at it, and then told the burly figure beside him, Pavilion Master, a new eternal true god has come to Huang City and has also become a client of our Dark Hall, with the code name Bladesman. Oh, I see, the burly figure nodded. Both of them didn't pay much attention. As descendants of Emperor Chu's lineage from the Flame Wind ancient country, they were entitled to overlook most eternal true gods in Huang City. Luofeng and Morosa returned to the cave mansion. I will go into reclusive training for some time, you are free to do as you please, Luofeng instructed. Remember, don't cause any trouble for me. Don't worry, master. Morosa immediately responded enthusiastically. Only then did Luofeng turn and enter the underground grand hall of the cave mansion. As soon as he entered, the multi-layered mechanisms of the grand hall shut down, and formations were sealed off. This underground grand hall was specifically used for cultivation in solitude, but Luofeng still found it too small. With a wave of his hand he brought out the Star Tower. Whoosh! Luofeng entered the Star Tower. The Star Tower itself contained vast space, allowing Luofeng to cultivate to his heart's content without worrying about damaging a single thing. Begin to cultivate the Primal Chaos Great Strength diagram. Luofeng sat cross-legged and began his first secluded training on the land of origin. My godly body, it's not growing any longer? Luofeng felt new divine power accumulating in the true God's heart but could no longer make the godly body grow. At last, it has grown to the limit of the eternal true God stage. Unknowingly, it's been 1.2 billion days since I came to the land of origin, over an era already, Luofeng thought. An era on the land of origin equates to 10 billion days. Luofeng had sequestered himself for just over an era, and in that time, 1.2 billion eras had already passed in the primordial cosmos region. The small universe had continued to absorb energy for such a long time, allowing Luofeng's godly body to grow to its limit. My current godly body height. With a slight sensing, Luofeng became clear of his current height. It has grown to a height of 180 billion kilometers. That's 5 times the ultimate height of 36 billion kilometers for unlimited godly bodies. His height was 5-fold. The vastness of his divine power was more than 100-fold. Even in the time-space environment of the land of origin, my height has reached 180 billion kilometers. I am even taller than the walls of Huang City, which are probably around the level of my knees, Luofeng mused. With such a massive godly body, those primal chaos overlords who do not possess unlimited godly bodies are probably not as tall as me. According to the intelligence he had, those who cultivated their bloodlines to become primal chaos overlords, no matter how special their bloodlines, or how formidable their secret techniques, had not exceeded a height of 100 billion kilometers. Of course, in terms of the quality of divine power, insights into the primal chaos laws and weapon secret treasures, those primal chaos overlords were far superior to him. Even if it were the secret technique of willpower. The secret technique of willpower, which was relatively rare on the land of origin, was something primal chaos overlords could easily acquire several of, perhaps nowhere close to Lai Yuan technique, but they also had various application techniques. Those who were able to cultivate to the primal chaos realm had their wills toughened to great strength. Combined with the secret technique of willpower, it was very hard for Luofeng to even think of heavily damaging his opponents with his will alone. Now, I still fall significantly short in all respects when compared to the primal chaos overlords, Luofeng felt, sensing the vast divine power contained within his 180 billion kilometer tall godly body. Since the godly body has grown to its limit, it's time to commence full body refinement. With a thought, the vast materials stored in the Star Tower flew out, with Luofeng skillfully beginning to smelt the materials, precisely controlling the proportions, and gradually fusing them into every part of his godly body. Each step of the foundation building in the first layer of the Primal Chaos Great Strength diagram had been thoroughly practiced by Luofeng, and he had experimented with a small amount of materials. Therefore full-body refinement now went exceedingly smoothly. Days passed by. Refining a secret treasure that was as tall as 180 billion kilometers, even when fully understanding all the steps, was an exceedingly complicated task. With Luofeng's powerful will, his meticulousness in inscribing every formation diagram ensured there were no mistakes, and it finally took him more than 300 days to complete the first layer of the Primal Chaos Great Strength diagram. At last, I've refined the first layer, Luofeng exhaled in relief. The artifact refiner materials I spent 100,000 cosmic sands to buy are almost used up. Luofeng felt somewhat melancholic. Just for foundation building, such a vast amount of materials was consumed? Luofeng now also realized the only downside of his godly body being too large, which was the horrifying consumption of body refinement, 100,000 cosmic sands. I thought I prepared enough, but it turned out to be barely sufficient to complete the simplest first layer. How many cosmic sands will I need for the much more complex and vastly more consuming second and third layers? 1,000,000 cosmic sands? 2,000,000 cosmic sands? Luofeng felt the pressure. To think of someone like He Duomo accumulating treasures worth just over 10,000 cosmic sands. This time it was just good luck, with the tremendous wealth from the rare treasure blue-purple blood crystal flower, that he had gathered enough to complete the first layer's foundation building. Luofeng introspected his godly body. Within his massive 180 billion kilometer tall godly body, besides the original complex structure, there was an additional layer of secret treasure structure, with dense secret patterns infiltrating every drop of blood, deeply integrated into every piece of bone. The cost was great, but the effect is rather good. Luofeng was quite satisfied. It's time to leave seclusion. With one thought, he packed up the Star Tower and lifted the formation seal of the underground palace. Boom boom boom. The passage of the underground palace opened, and Luofeng flew out, arriving at his own cave mansion. Now it was night, with a cold wind howling, and the entire cave mansion was quiet. Morosa was not inside. Secluding myself for just over an era for eternal true gods is considered a relatively short seclusion. Luofeng had decisively chosen to seclude himself properly to make up for his many shortcomings, especially after his first battle upon arrival in the land of origin, in which he had been utterly trounced. In just over an era, Luofeng's various aspects had been sufficiently replenished. You've returned quite quickly. Luofeng looked up, and with a sensation of soul enslavement, knew that Morosa had swiftly made his way back as soon as he had emerged from seclusion. Phew. A stream of black light flew into the cave mansion. It was Morosa, who from afar excitedly shouted while carrying a big jug of wine in one hand and a large piece of roasted meat in the other. Master, you've finally emerged from seclusion. I've been anxiously waiting. In one of the floors of the Star Tower, within a vast and boundless space, sat Luofeng cross-legged, his body beginning to grow in size. Grow. From his original stature, just one blade's height above an average true god, Luofeng's height surged in the blink of an eye, far surpassing the elegant mountain range over 100,000 kilometers high near his cave mansion. Not even one of his small toe could compare to that mountain range. The space-time of the land of origin is extremely stable and suppressive. True gods are generally about one blade's height. Now that I am showing my true size, I am only 120 million kilometers tall. Gazing down on his majestic true body, Luofeng contemplated, the suppression of the land of origin is indeed too strong. If I were in the surrounding regions of the primordial cosmos, my godly body would be many times larger. In different regions, whether it's the speed of time flow or the pressure of space, the environment is drastically different. In the regions of the primordial cosmos, the stature of true gods is extremely large. I broke through from the true god level to the eternal true god level in a short period of time. My perfect divine body hasn't grown to its limit. Luofeng was very clear that his microcosm was ceaselessly absorbing primal chaos current and transforming it into divine power, continuously fueling the growth of his godly body. Every moment he was growing taller. 120 million kilometers was just a height during the developmental phase. Accumulated over the long years of the land of origin, there are not a few who possess unlimited godly bodies. Luofeng had a wealth of information about unlimited godly bodies. Among his predecessors of Duandong River, 2 of them had unlimited godly bodies. How tall could a perfect divine body grow in the stage of an eternal true god? Luofeng didn't know because there was no precedent. But he understood the height of unlimited godly bodies. An unlimited godly body, at the level of an eternal true god, under the environment of the land of origin, can reach a maximum height of 3.6 billion kilometers. Luofeng thought, I have a perfect divine body so my growth limit should be even higher. Let's just develop gradually. Luofeng sat cross-legged with closed eyes and began to delve into the study of the primal chaos great strength diagram. Having a perfect divine body, Luofeng naturally wanted to make the most of his advantage. He carefully selected from the massive heritages he had obtained and chose the body refining secret technique, primal chaos great strength diagram. To refine the godly body like a secret treasure weapon, a weapon that is 100 kilometers tall and one that is 100 million kilometers tall have vastly different powers, even if the principles of their creation are similar. Luofeng studied and understood meticulously this body refining secret technique. The primal chaos great strength diagram appeared to be a common body refining method of the primal chaos realm, but it was very suitable for those with large godly bodies. This method was divided into 6 layers. The first 3 layers were at the eternal level. The last 3 layers were at the primal chaos realm level. Primal chaos great strength diagram, first layer, foundation building. With a thought, Luofeng summoned a small amount of artifact refining materials and began to use the secret technique to melt them. With the strength of Luofeng's perfect divine power, melting the materials was quite effortless. Even if he understood the technique of melting, it required repeated trials. Artifact refining is not easy, and it's even harder to refine eternal true god level weapons. Luofeng learned the various artifact refining techniques recorded in the secret technique, naturally encountering all sorts of difficulties during the learning process. The characteristics of the materials, their combination, engraving formation diagrams, how different formation diagrams combine. Time after time he encountered difficulties and then solved them. Fortunately, I became an eternal true god through understanding the essence of laws. Luofeng couldn't help but reflect while studying the artifact refining secret technique. Those who became eternal true gods through bloodline cultivation know how things work but not why. Without understanding the essence of laws, their difficulty in learning artifact refining secret techniques is probably much greater. In fact, any top secret technique is not easy to master. Even if one acquires a secret technique, there is no guarantee it can be perfected. The path of cultivation gets harder the further one advances. Only those who understand the essence of the laws and take each step solidly can hope to reach the godly king level. Time passed. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Each day in the land of origin is equivalent to about 1 year in the primordial cosmos. Considering also that time flows faster in the primordial cosmos, a second here passed as 10,081 seconds there. So, 1 day passed in the land of origin meant a staggering 10,081 years had passed in the primordial cosmos, that is, an era. Luofeng's microcosm, with a diameter of 100 billion light-years, crazily absorbed the primal chaos current and condensed it into divine power, connected to Luofeng's true god's heart, providing for the growth of his godly body. Inside the Star Tower, Luofeng, with a height of 120 million kilometers, was also slowly growing taller. 130 million kilometers, 140 million kilometers, 200 million kilometers, 300 million kilometers. As his height increased, the more divine power he needed, and the slower the rate of growth became. Immersed in the study of the primal chaos great strength diagram, Luofeng lost track of time. Haha, each occupation has its own specialties. Fortunately, I have a deeper understanding of the laws, and luckily this is just the first layer, foundation building, of the Primal Chaos Great Strength diagram. I finally got it all figured out. Luofeng laughed heartily. Oh. It was only then that Luofeng noticed he had grown quite a bit taller. My height has reached 800 million kilometers? This height seemed trivial to Luofeng. After all, according to the information he had, unlimited godly bodies could reach a height of 36 billion kilometers at the stage of an eternal true god. My godly body is still growing. It would be most appropriate to refine it once it has finished developing, Luofeng thought. Otherwise, refining the body while it was still growing would waste a lot of materials. Time to explore other secret techniques. Luofeng was captivated by his cultivation. Having just become an eternal true god, he naturally improved in all aspects as he practiced various secret techniques. And the feeling of continuous growth was very addictive. World-breaking 9 blades, Lai Yuan technique, Duan Mie Donghua 9 netherworlds. Luofeng, in his state of seclusion, was completely immersed in them. He could also sense the manifestation of primal chaos laws in the neighboring primal chaos ruins. At any time, studying various secret techniques while observing the primal chaos laws, Luofeng felt insights flooding into his mind. The collision of different secret techniques, combined with Luofeng's extraordinary talent, made rapid progress all but inevitable. To be able to cultivate to an eternal true god in the primordial cosmos region. To cultivate a perfect divine body in such an environment, and to have one's will reach the pinnacle of primal chaos. Luofeng's talent was beyond doubt. Immersion in cultivation caused time to continually pass by. When Luofeng had researched several secret techniques for a while, one day his increasingly majestic godly body suddenly stopped growing. In the small universe of the primordial cosmos region, which was at its limit of absorbing primal chaos current, suddenly slowed down the absorption. Luofeng's godly body also shook, halting his cultivation. Luofeng was immersed in comprehension, and when he stopped, he found that the sky had already darkened, and Morosa was sitting there idly, bored to death. Master, are you awake? Morosa showed a look of joy. While I was cultivating, you just sat here like a fool? Luofeng said. Why didn't you go take a stroll around within Huang City? I was only comprehending the laws, not turning into an idiot. If an outsider touched the formation of the cave mansion, I would have immediately interrupted my comprehension. With an ingratiating tone, Morosa said, enjoying food and entertainment can be done at any time, but when master is cultivating, I must guard diligently, as it is the most important matter. Haha, well said. Luofeng stood up. Alright, let's go out for a bit and sell that blue-purple blood crystal flower. Master, which establishment are you planning to sell it to? Morosa also stood up. Of course, the Flame Wind Pavilion. Luofeng said, and right away the two of them had left the house. Moments later, Luofeng and Morosa were already looking at the distant and majestic Flame Wind Pavilion from afar. Among the countless buildings in Huang City, the main building of the Flame Wind Pavilion was second in height only to the city owner's mansion. The safest place in the entire Huang City is this Flame Wind Pavilion, Luofeng said. Even if Huang City were to be destroyed, this Flame Wind Pavilion would remain unscathed. Oh. Morosa was amazed, as his understanding of the land of origin came from Luofeng. The Flame Wind Pavilion represents the Flame Wind Ancient Country, Luofeng said. Inside the Flame Wind Ancient Country, some powerful forces have come together to establish the Flame Wind Pavilion, and their business spans across most of the land of origin. Even in wars between divine kingdoms, they wouldn't dare to touch the Flame Wind Pavilion. Because to do so would be to disgrace the Flame Wind Ancient Country, Luofeng laughed. The consequences would be severe. Morosa nodded in realization. What a strong background. No matter the treasures they can buy and they can sell. Luofeng said. They are the safest trading partners. This blue-purple blood crystal flower was enough to make some eternal true gods green with envy and go insane. To ensure a stable transaction, Luofeng did not hesitate to choose trading with the Flame Wind Pavilion. The Flame Wind Pavilion covered a vast area with many buildings, and the main building particularly catered to guests from all directions. Upon arriving at the entrance of the main building, Luofeng and Morosa were immediately met by an attendant who came forward to greet them. Divine Monarch, please come inside. The attendant enthusiastically led them into a private hall. Divine Monarch, this is Chunmi wine from the Flame Wind Ancient Country, please have a taste. The attendant poured the wine, a cup of which would be worth several primal chaos crystals in the Flame Wind Ancient Country and was simply not available for purchase in Huang City. Chunmi wine. Luofeng picked up a cup, took a sip and felt a light, refreshing taste spreading through his soul and consciousness. Let's talk business. I'm here to sell a blue-purple blood crystal flower, Luofeng said, turning his hand and placing a wooden box on the long table in front of him. Blue-purple blood crystal flower? The attendant was somewhat surprised. Despite being used to catering to eternal true gods, he was still a bit shocked. He immediately opened the wooden box and saw a seemingly ordinary blue-purple blood crystal flower. Within the Flame Wind Pavilion, a formation activated, enveloping the blue-purple blood crystal flower in light, and instantly completing the appraisal. This blue-purple blood crystal flower is fully mature, well harvested and preserved and of superior quality. Based on the current market value, the Flame Wind Pavilion is willing to buy it for 120,000 cosmic sands, said the attendant. How does that sound to the Divine Monarch? Okay, Luofeng readily nodded in agreement. He was well aware of the Flame Wind Pavilion's rules, that for treasures valued below 10 million cosmic sand, bargaining was generally not entertained. For various exotic treasures from heaven and earth, the Flame Wind Ancient Country's headquarters had clear pricing for different levels, and its branches had no authority to adjust them. Then this blue-purple blood crystal flower belongs to my Flame Wind Pavilion. The attendant repositioned the blue-purple blood crystal flower, and at the same time, a cyan jade vial appeared out of thin air on the table. The attendant handed the cyan jade vial to Luofeng. Divine Monarch, there are 120,000 cosmic sand inside. Please verify. Luofeng took the vial and with a brief sensation confirmed it was correct. The transaction is settled, the attendant said with a smile. Divine Monarch, is there anything else I can do for you? I also need to purchase some artifact refining materials. Here's the material list, Luofeng said, handing over a prepared list to the other party. The total cost for the materials is 100,000 cosmic sand. The majority of the cosmic sand earned from selling the blue-purple blood crystal flower would be spent. 100,000 cosmic sand to buy all these materials? The attendant was astonished. Most of these materials are fairly common. If we go by the list, that would be a very large quantity. We might need to move entire mountains for some materials. Are you sure you want to spend all 100,000 cosmic sand on these? Can the Flame Wind Pavilion gather them all? Luofeng asked. The attendant confidently smiled. No need to worry about that, even if it's 100 times or 1,000 times more, the Flame Wind Pavilion can summon them from other places. As for your needs, we have ample stock in our storerooms. It will be delivered in the time it takes to drink a cup of wine. Good, then please arrange it quickly, Luofeng nodded. Besides purchasing these materials, I would also like to apply to join the Flame Wind Pavilion's Dark Hall. The attendant smiled slightly. Once you join the Dark Hall of our Flame Wind Pavilion, you can actively post tasks, accept tasks and purchase intelligence. As an eternal true god, you can join the Dark Hall without review or fees. As an organization that spans most of the land of origin. Of course, Flame Wind Pavilion engages in the business of intelligence, as well as offering bounties for tasks. These kinds of businesses are all undertaken in the name of the Dark Hall. The more clients the Dark Hall has, the better, so the threshold to enter is very low. One can join the Dark Hall with sufficient strength or wealth. Divine Monarch will need a code name within the Dark Hall, the attendant said. After thinking for a moment, Luofeng replied, call me Bladesman. Alright, your application has been successful. The attendant flipped his hand and passed a transmission token to Luofeng. This is the Dark Hall's transmission order. With it, you can contact the Dark Hall within large cities. Whether it's purchasing intelligence, posting or accepting tasks, everything can be done through this transmission token. If the transmission token is lost or damaged, you can also have it reissued at the Flame Wind Pavilion. Luofeng took the Dark Hall's transmission order, which was fixed to contact only the Dark Hall. A set of basic intelligence on the various countries of the land of origin, Luofeng decided to try purchasing intelligence first. Divine Monarch, as you've just joined the Dark Hall and being an eternal true god, you have a sum of 1,000 cosmic sand available on credit, which must be repaid within 1 era. Otherwise, the penalty will be 10 times the outstanding amount, the attendant reminded. The intelligence I'm purchasing costs 10 cosmic sand. I'll pay you first. Luofeng paid straight away. At the same time, he was reviewing the piece of intelligence just sent through the Dark Hall's transmission order. Luofeng looked at the jug of wine and grilled meat in Morosa's hands and couldn't help but laugh. You seem to have enjoyed yourself these days. On our way back, you just couldn't let go of the wine and meat in your hands. Enjoyed myself? Morosa took a big bite of the meat and shook his head repeatedly. Not at all. Master, you told me not to cause trouble. Throughout this entire era, I didn't dare to stir up any kind of trouble. It's been so frustrating, I've been holding it all in. Very frustrated? Luofeng pressed on. Morosa nodded vigorously. Huang City is a mix of different powers, and there are some battle-hungry maniacs who deliberately pick fights. According to my temper, I would have squashed them with one hand long ago. But the Master's command comes above all else. I would rather die than disobey. So, I just had to endure it, turning big issues into small ones and small issues into nothing. Luofeng was curious. You turn big issues into small ones and small issues into nothing? Sector beasts, born from the path of destruction, have an inherently ferocious nature, and Luofeng was curious how he could possibly have endured. I just slightly injured them enough to let them feel the difference in strength. Then I made them pay a fine, Morosa explained hurriedly. This isn't causing trouble. If one does not fight back when attacked, they will only be bullied even more harshly. Luofeng nodded. I understand, a coward in Huang City will be devoured without leaving any remnants. Master is wise, Morosa said with a laugh, and couldn't help but take a few more sips of wine, savoring it. Back home you didn't like to drink much, Luofeng observed curiously. Morosa's eyes lit up and he quickly said, Master, since you've come to the land of origin, you haven't really had a chance to taste the local wines, right? Some of the wines here taste so much better than those back home. Let me have a taste. Luofeng took the jug and tilted his head back for a sip. Upon taking a sip, he immediately felt as if his soul had been nourished, feeling comfortable and relaxed. This is interesting, Luofeng exclaimed in surprise. Since arriving in the land of origin, I've only had a cup of chunmi wine at the Flame Wind Pavilion, which has a relatively restrained flavor. But this wine of yours is domineering. It even affects my soul consciousness. Luofeng's soul consciousness was so strong, yet he still felt a sense of comfort and relaxation. If a true god of void space were to drink it, they would probably feel so comfortable that they'd be ecstatic. Morosa nodded and said, creatures born in the land of origin can consume the power of heaven and earth from birth, so they don't actually need to eat or drink. Their food and wine are not meant for energy replenishment, but they do have some peculiar effects. Either a very strong olfactory stimulation or some benefits to the godly body and soul consciousness, making true gods crave them, Morosa explained. Luofeng nodded. He was aware of this as well. The common food and drinks in the land of origin were not valuable. It was the special food and drinks that fetched a high price. They generally had miraculous effects like refining the godly body or nourishing the soul. Like this jug of wine here, it costs 3 primal chaos crystals. I have to drink it sparingly, Morosa admitted with a hint of cherishing attachment as he put it away. Food and wine are so enticing? Come on Morosa, take me to have a look, Luofeng said. Morosa's eyes sparkled and with his mouth agape, he swallowed the huge piece of grilled meat in one bite, then quickly said, don't worry master. Although I don't know much about other things in these past eras, I've come to know quite a bit about the food and wine in Huang City. I'll show you the way. But. Morosa smirked and chuckled, I'm quite broke so you'll have to foot the bill later. Look at how stingy you are, all that pocket money is given by me, Luofeng said. Alright, lead the way. Let's go. Morosa, decisive and swift, led Luofeng out of the cave mansion. Under Morosa's lead, after flying for a while, the two of them arrived at an ordinary restaurant called Fire Realm Restaurant in Huang City, which did not cover a large area and was rather unremarkable. In this past era, I have tried many delicacies, but the Fire Realm feast here is my favorite, and it's not too expensive either, Morosa introduced. Luofeng looked up. The name Fire Realm Restaurant stood out as part of the formation. Black Butcher, come out quick. Morosa yelled and also explained to Luofeng, Master, Black Butcher is the owner of this restaurant. I've been here many times and am very familiar with him. He also comes from the land of origin that broke through the cycle of reincarnation. From the land of origin that broke through the cycle of reincarnation? Luofeng was surprised. Suddenly, a fat man emerged to greet them, his hair and beard as stiff as needles, his body covered in scale armor, sporting tusks, and with a pair of fiery eyes, like 2 burning stars. He walked out full of enthusiasm and with great respect. For a supreme to come here is an honor for my Fire Realm restaurant. This was an eternal true god. Since his ordinary little restaurant opened, the number of eternal true god customers could be counted on one's fingers. Prepare your specialty, the Fire Realm feast, quickly, Morosa urged. This way please, the fat man known as the Black Butcher immediately led the way. In one of the small buildings within the Fire Realm restaurant, Luofeng and Morosa took their seats. The Fire Realm feast requires me to cook it myself, so I asked the Supreme to wait a little while, said the Black Butcher before respectfully taking his leave. Meanwhile, an attendant brought in some drinks and side dishes as an appetizer. As soon as the attendant entered, Luofeng noticed him and exclaimed in surprise, Is it you, you little fellow? The attendant was Suazi, the young man from the tribe that Luofeng had saved. Greetings to the Supreme, Suazi quickly bowed respectfully. Ha ha. Morosa laughed and said, I've come here many times and often had this Suazi serve us. Master, you saved them back then and now bumping into each other in a restaurant is quite fateful. It is quite a coincidence, Luofeng nodded. How did you end up working in this restaurant? Suazi was grateful to this kind eternal true god. Without Luofeng, their entire team would have perished back then. To answer the Supreme, after Sua Yun and I settled in Huang City, we needed to earn primal chaos crystals, whether to pay the residents' fees or for our own cultivation, Suazi explained. I got lucky. The owner saw potential in me and recruited me as an apprentice. This lad has a gift for cooking, Morosa interjected. Being skilled in cooking can help one settle down in Huang City. Suazi immediately added, I am currently learning from the owner. Your restaurant owner has a bit of a reputation in Huang City. Coming from the legendary primordial cosmos, inhabitants of the land of origin are naturally skilled in culinary arts. Moreover, having integrated some culinary heritage of the land of origin, the combination makes his cooking truly stand out among the true gods of void space. Morosa praised, for he could now be considered a connoisseur. Suazi nodded and said, I have always been working hard at learning. If I don't study well and get kicked out, I'll have to risk my life outside the city. Luofeng listened on the side and asked, What about the brothers who settled in Huang City with you? Sua Yun has become an ordinary guard for a big family, Suazi said in a low voice, living life on the edge. Luofeng understood. An ordinary guard for a big family is cannon fodder, always the first to rush into the thick of things and do the grunt work. They both have some talent, that's how they found jobs, Morosa said. From what I've seen, about half of the true gods in Huang City have to frequently go outside the city to hunt exotic beasts. Luofeng was already aware of this information. The inhabitants of the land of origin, especially those at the middle and lower levels, mostly relied on hunting exotic beasts to make a living. Many were responsible for gathering and processing exotic beast materials, forming a vast industry chain. As for service jobs within a large city, the thresholds are very high. Without sufficient talent and strength, one isn't qualified for these service jobs. During the conversation. Here it comes, The restaurant owner, Black Butcher, walked in waving his hand and a lavish feast appeared. Various dishes and foods were displayed, with the most eye-catching being the huge fiery red meat in the center. The meat in the middle exuded an aura of flames. Supreme, I was a true god who embarked on the path of a culinary god in my homeland of the primordial cosmos, the Black Butcher said with a smile. After becoming the true god of void space and traversing the cycles to the land of origin, even with my cooking skills, it was difficult to set roots in Huang City. So I started from scratch and became a butcher in Huang City, starting with helping to slaughter the exotic beasts and processing their materials, step by step understanding the characteristics of exotic beast materials. It took a hard 50,000 years to achieve something, and only then did I open this Fire Realm restaurant. Supreme, please try my Fire Realm feast, the Black Butcher said with confidence. In the long history of the land of origin, there had been many powerful individuals from the 3,000 primordial cosmos that had come through the cycles. Each primal chaos prefecture had some. To promote his business and attract customers, the Black Butcher had tried every possible method. I'll try it, Luofeng began to taste it. The Black Butcher watched nervously on the side. If an eternal true god enjoyed it and came often, it would be like a live advertisement. Only then could his restaurant become more famous and attract more customers. Luofeng sampled each dish, finding the appetizers and drinks in the beginning simply decent. But when he tasted the huge piece of meat in the center, Luofeng's eyes lit up. Master, you have to take a big bite to really appreciate the flavor, Morosa said, and Luofeng, listening, took a big mouthful. Instantly, a third of the enormous piece of meat flew out, rapidly shrinking as it entered Luofeng's mouth. The meat was large, but he chewed and swallowed it easily. Boom. Luofeng felt as though flames were spreading from his abdomen to his entire body, as if refining his entire godly body. Even his soul and consciousness felt pleasantly warm. Eating the Fire Realm feast is like swallowing an entire world of flames, making one feel as though their godly body and spirit have been transformed, the Black Butcher said on the side. It's as if one has been reborn. Luofeng glanced at him with a smile. Reborn? That seemed a bit too mystical. But indeed it was rather comfortable. For those with weaker godly bodies, perhaps there really would be a sense of transformation of the godly body and spirit, a feeling of being reborn. Supreme, what do you think? The Black Butcher was somewhat anxious. Not bad, Luofeng complimented. The Black Butcher could only nod. This feast I created myself. In some of the top restaurants and eateries in Huang City, the culinary arts were handed down by primal chaos overlords or even godly kings, while mine can only be considered minor tricks. Luofeng took a sip of wine and added, cultivation is fundamental. Coming from the primordial cosmos, you should have no way to practice the bloodline cultivation method. Yes, the Black Butcher nodded. I can only follow the path of laws, but understanding the source of law is too difficult. Even though the laws are clearer in the land of origin, I've reached a bottleneck and have been unable to break through, which is why I've thought of seeking external aid. I opened the restaurant hoping to earn some wealth and purchase resources to assist my cultivation. But even opening a restaurant is tough, added the Black Butcher. This Fire Realm feast is pretty good. Keep up the hard work. Luofeng had eaten half of it and let Morosa have the rest. Morosa happily gobbled it up eagerly, quickly polishing off the entire thing. After paying a fee of 10 primal chaos crystals, Luofeng and Morosa left. At the Fire Realm restaurant, Black Butcher, accompanied by attendant Suazi, saw them to the outside of the restaurant. Suazi, the Black Butcher gazed into the distance. Do you think that Supreme will come again in the future? The Supreme seemed quite fond of the Fire Realm feast, Suazi said. Let's hope so. The Black Butcher mused. Only if an eternal true god comes here often can it attract enough true gods to visit. Back in his homeland of the primordial cosmos, he had been an unbeatable existence, but after arriving in the land of origin, he had faced a tough struggle. In terms of strength? In large cities, true gods of void space were commonplace. People like Moyu who also had to venture into the wild. The Black Butcher was extremely proud at heart. Adventuring in the wilderness could be fatal at any moment, and he was unwilling to take that risk. Starting from the bottom as a butcher, his restaurant in Huang City had gradually accumulated a number of regular customers over the years. I must make this restaurant even bigger, only then can I earn more and my chances of becoming an eternal true god will be greater. The Black Butcher turned and walked back toward the restaurant. In Huang City, even a small restaurant owner might have an extraordinary background. Because the city was full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, with so many strong individuals around, making a name for oneself became that much harder. Morosa spoke while flying. We just visited a rather affordable eatery. Next, we shall visit one of the top pleasure destinations in all of Huang City. One of the top pleasure destinations in Huang City? Where? Luofeng inquired curiously. Dreamflower Tower, Morosa stated mysteriously. The myriad clans' cultivators usually conceal their true bodies to appear similar, but they actually are from various clans, Luofeng said. Some don't even have genders and their preferences can differ vastly. How can this Dreamflower Tower attract cultivators from all the myriad clans? Wait and see, master. You'll understand soon, Morosa replied. As they conversed jovially, a magnificent complex of buildings emerged ahead. The complex covered a vast area and was enveloped in a formation. Numerous attendants could vaguely be seen flying around, their laughter, the sounds of musical instruments, and roars softly emanating from the area. There's the Dreamflower Tower ahead, Morosa remarked poignantly. Everything is perfect except that it's expensive. A green-robed figure flew toward them to greet them, acting very humbly. It's an honor for Dreamflower Tower to host the Supreme. Inside Huang City, the eternal true gods were the most powerful beings, as they were the sky of Huang City. They each had their affairs, and it was only on rare occasions that Dreamflower Tower could host an eternal true god. This is my first visit. You take care of the arrangements? Luofeng instructed. Yes, the green-robed attendant answered with a charming smile. I shall arrange for the most prestigious Orchid Star Hall for the Supreme. Leading the way, the attendant flew ahead with Luofeng and Morosa following. The formation of the entire Dreamflower Tower was like a vast labyrinthine world. Morosa marveled. I visited several times but never ventured this deep into Dreamflower Tower. It seems this place is only for truly honored guests. Suddenly, Luofeng frowned slightly as he looked ahead. Being a perfect divine body, his sensing range was broad and sensitive. At that moment he sensed something he disliked happening in a hall ahead. The spacious hall was gathering guests from the myriad clans, all of whom were drinking, talking, and laughing as they watched a life-and-death battle unfolding at the center of the hall. Two true gods were trying everything they could to kill their opponent. The center of the hall was bloody, with more than 10 bodies of true gods that had reverted to their original forms after death. Kill him for me. If you lose, your entire family will join you in death, an enraged green-robed guest roared. Sonke Mountain, out of the 10 servants you dispatched for this ultimate battle, only this one remains, while I still have 3 servants yet to fight. Another guest with 8 arms chuckled leisurely. It seems this bet will belong to me. It's not over yet. My guard has exceptional talents, capable of killing all your remaining servants, the green-robed guest retorted angrily. Is that so? The 8-armed guest raised his glass. The other guests were also exceedingly excited. Sonke Mountain, I bet on your side to win, but your servant isn't doing well, only one left. My servant will win. He must win, said the green-robed guest, his face contorting fiercely. Meanwhile, the eyes of the 2 true gods fighting in the center grew increasingly frenzied, having no way out. Each side had sent 10 servants, and the battle wouldn't end until all from one side were dead. Who would willingly participate in such a cruel gamble? But they had no choice. I left my tribe and came to Huang City in search of opportunities. I gained inheritance and grew stronger. But now I am dying here. I wonder how my sister is doing in the tribe? A bald true god, clearly at a disadvantage and struggling to hold on, thought. Kill him, the green-robed guest shouted fiercely. And after that, kill the remaining 3. I will reward you handsomely. Amusing, said the assured 8-armed guest. At that moment, Luofeng, Morosa, and the attendant flew past from a distance, and Luofeng glanced over here briefly. The laws of Huang City prohibited killing. However, considering the true god's pursuit of strength, some also craved battle. Therefore, as long as both parties signed a life-and-death contract, agreeing to fight voluntarily, Huang City would not intervene. But Luofeng understood at a glance that these true gods fighting in the center of the hall were clearly volunteered to fight. Buzz. Luofeng merely glanced once. An intangible aura then swept across all creatures in the grand hall. Originally reveling and betting guests suddenly felt targeted by an unimaginably terrifying being. The 2 true gods, originally fighting to the death, found their thoughts stalling and their minds blank under this terrifying aura. Almost all of these extraordinary guests were true gods of void space, yet the silence was deafening, with none daring to make a sound. Supreme, the flying green-robed attendant exclaimed in shock, halting immediately. I was feeling quite good today, Luofeng said, a hint of coldness in his brow, speaking indifferently, but seeing this dirted my eyes, spoiling my mood. The green-robed attendant trembled in fear, hastily responding, it's an oversight on Dreamflower Tower's part. Such life-and-death betting is not allowed here. It's our mistake for spoiling the Supreme's mood. Tonight all your expenses will be on Dreamflower Tower. Let's go to Orchid Star Hall, Luofeng said. Yes, the attendant resumed leading the way. Morosa glanced back at the hall from a distance, chuckling sinisterly, a bunch of brats. He then followed Luofeng towards Orchid Star Hall. Inside the hall of the life and death bet. Everyone should leave quickly, the serving attendant urged urgently. That unfamiliar eternal true god apparently dislikes this life and death betting. Hurry up, everyone leave quickly, said Sonke Mountain, the green-robed guest, immediately. You were lucky, said the 8-armed guest. He dared not linger and ran swiftly, disappearing quickly outside the hall with 3 guards escorting him. Other distinguished guests also hastily fled. The 2 true gods who had been fighting glanced at each other. Unexpectedly, we both escaped disaster, they said, collecting the bodies of their fallen comrades before also making a swift departure. Deep within the Dreamflower Tower was the core hall, Orchid Star Hall. Even though Dreamflower Tower is one of the top places for enjoyment in Huang City, only occasionally does an eternal true god visit, Morosa said as he sat aside. Usually the guests are primarily the true gods of void space, who indulge wildly while those attendants dare not stop those from influential clans. The green-robed attendant was helping to pour wine by his side. There is too much impurity in the world, how could I possibly manage it all? Luofeng said leisurely, the air I dispersed was merely a warning to them. What if they ignore your warning, master? Asked Morosa. Then they are disrespecting me, slapping my face. Then their deaths can blame no one else, Luofeng stated. Upon hearing this, Morosa hastily replied, Master is indeed kind-hearted to still give them a chance to live. The attending green-robed attendant silently trembled in his heart. Many distinguished guests in that hall had come from top influential families within Huang City, and this strange eternal true god spoke of killing so easily. Could it have been just casual words? Luofeng noticed a woman dressed in black walking into the hall from outside, who bowed slightly after entering. Supreme, the green-robed attendant helped introduce her, this is the direct disciple of our tower's master, musician Suya. Morosa also added, in the whole of Huang City, very few eternal true gods excel in illusion technique, and only the Dreamflower Tower master is willing to perform illusions to entertain the guests. Luofeng nodded. He had also practiced the 9 netherworlds, and had just reached the level of eternal true god. Indeed, if illusion technique was not used for combat but for entertaining the masses, it could have remarkably effective results. Begin. Luofeng was curious as to what kind of illusion technique the Dreamflower Tower used to attract the cultivators of the myriad clans. The woman in black sat by herself, waving her hand to make various musical instruments appear before her. As divine power was infused into the instruments, sounds of various instruments resonated immediately. Every instrument had the capacity to affect the spirit, and their combination instantly transported Luofeng back to his past memories. His emotions began to heat up. Luofeng seemed to see the scenario where many people on Earth bravely faced the golden horn giant beast. Using musical instruments as a guide, the foundation of illusion technique influencing emotions. Thrilling. Exciting. Flaring up. For those of us who have cultivated for endless ages, our spirits become more and more tranquil, like the vast land, hardly fluctuating. It's very difficult to make my emotions violently fluctuate. Luofeng had no resistance and let himself be influenced by the musical illusion voluntarily. But his spiritual will was too strong at the pinnacle of the primal chaos level, and no ordinary illusion technique could shake it. It merely reminded Luofeng of some memories from Earth. That period of passionate burning years. Right within the Lai Yuan technique, there are many secret techniques for cultivating spiritual will, including one called the 7 emotions of heart refining technique. As numerous surging memories from the past emerged, Luofeng also recalled the 7 emotions of heart refining technique. The 7 emotions of heart refining technique actively amplifies the perceptivity of the spirit, making it very easy to be touched, joyful, furious, or sorrowful. Afterward, using these varied emotions as nourishment to refine the spiritual will. With that thought in mind, Luofeng began to perform the 7 emotions of heart refining technique. As the method operated, his perceptivity of the spirit quickly amplified. The previous music and illusion technique that had only slightly resonated with Luofeng now had an effect many times stronger in an instant. Boom. Luofeng was momentarily transported back to the past. Sit down, close your eyes, remember, do not resist, Luofeng said in a deep voice. Understood. Mohanderson, Ist, Tripati Singh, Jai, and Sokolov were sitting in their respective positions according to the 6 blades secret technique. They looked at each other, their faces revealing strange smiles. It was indeed the scene where they 6 sacrificed themselves against the golden horn giant beast. A passionate thought surged in Luofeng's heart, transcending life and death, with only the single thought of slaying the golden horn giant beast. Under the aid of the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, this intense emotion made Luofeng's eyes well up with tears. The purpose of the musical illusion technique was to serve the guests by invoking beneficial emotions. Passion burning, love, unyielding promises, brotherhood shared through life and death. After a while, the black-clad female musician stopped playing, and she was somewhat surprised by the expression of the unfamiliar eternal true god, as eternal true gods generally do not indulge so deeply in their illusion effects. Luofeng's eyes faintly filled with tears as he slowly opened them. Good, very good, Luofeng quietly said. Excellent. Master? Morosa also felt that Luofeng was too affected, considering it was just an illusion technique from the true god of void space. Luofeng glanced at the woman in black and nodded. You may leave now. Musician Suya takes her leave. The black-clad musician Suya respectfully withdrew. Luofeng paid no attention to Morosa, nor to the green-robed attendant on the side, and drank alone. In the huge hall, for a moment neither Morosa nor the green-robed attendant dared to make a sound. Luofeng silently drank, his eyes deep. His will was currently enduring the honing of the 7 emotions of heart-refining technique. Just like steel needs to be forged and struck repeatedly, a creature needs to go through setback after setback to gradually grow. The same goes for the will. It needs to be tempered over and over again. The stronger the tempering, if the will does not collapse, it will become even stronger. The 7 emotions of heart refining technique is special as it tempers one's own will with various emotions. As the secret technique is activated, intense feelings surge and continuously assault the will. I have cultivated for too long, my emotions have become deeper and more restrained. Who would have thought that in this Dreamflower Tower, I would return to the time when my emotions were most intense, reminisced Luofeng. Within the Lai Yuan technique, there are various secret techniques for cultivating will. I had long chosen the Great Destruction Heart Refining Technique to temper my will. I have already practiced it numerous times during my retreat of over an epoch. This secret technique has a high upper limit, while the 7 emotions of heart refining technique ultimately has its limits. After all, I cannot always be in the midst of emotional turmoil, otherwise I would go mad, thought Luofeng. The Great Destruction heart refining technique is about using the mood of utter destruction of all things to grind away at the will. What Luofeng needed to do was to resist with his will. Because Morosa inherently mastered the destruction of the origin, Luofeng could directly observe and even attempt to condense the mood of great destruction, making the secret technique highly effective. Destruction of the origin is on the same level of existence as the life origin of the primordial cosmos. Enslaving a sector beast to directly observe destruction of the origin, Luofeng naturally chose the Great Destruction heart refining technique as his main practice. However, those memories are indeed beautiful. Luofeng's emotions gradually stabilized. Is this musician Suya the one who most strongly affects emotions with illusion techniques from your Dreamflower Tower? Suddenly asked Luofeng. Upon hearing the question, the green-robed attendant promptly replied, our Dreamflower Tower's strongest illusion techniques naturally come from the Tower Master, but she only occasionally hosts the 100 Flowers banquet, and only invited guests can participate. Among the other musicians, there are more than 10 who are close to musician Suya's level. Luofeng nodded, let them come and play their music. Very well, said the green-robed attendant, feeling a bit puzzled inside. Why would an eternal true god care so much about illusion techniques from a true god of void space level? In Huang City, there were some eternal true gods who liked the Dreamflower Tower Master, and there were even a very few who were madly infatuated with her. But it was unheard of for an eternal true god to particularly fancy illusionists of the true god of void space level. But since Luofeng had commanded it, the green-robed attendant naturally went to arrange it immediately. While Luofeng was practicing the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, he continuously experienced the illusion techniques of these musicians. Although they all came from the same tradition, each had their own strengths. Some even created an illusory world, making Luofeng a part of the story within that world. Supreme One, are you satisfied with these musicians? The green-robed attendant inquired. Our Dreamflower Tower has several other interesting novelties. The musicians' illusion techniques are just one of them. Today I have had my fill. I shall return another time, said Luofeng as he got up. He glanced at a petite woman covered with leaves who appeared a bit shy. Named Araya, she was a plant creature from the land of origin. Her music had a special charm that stirred Luofeng's emotions the most intensely, far surpassing the other musicians. This musician Araya is very good. Saying this, Luofeng casually threw a grain of sand that seemed ordinary but instantly drew the gaze of many creatures present. Cosmic sand? The green-robed attendant exclaimed, swiftly adding, Supreme One, all expenses tonight at the Dreamflower Tower are on us, you need not. I dislike taking unfair advantage, Luofeng stated as he walked out. Morosa then swept up the nearby wine jug with a wave of his hand and quickly followed Luofeng, not without glancing at the piece of cosmic sand left on the table. Since my master has given it, you'd better accept it quickly. The green-robed attendant then picked up the cosmic sand, admiring the nascent universe contained within it and marveled. The night's expenses were actually just over 2,000 primal chaos crystals, but Luofeng's piece of cosmic sand was worth far more. Araya, the Supreme One is very pleased with your music, a reward of 10 primal chaos crystals, said the green-robed attendant. Thank you, Steward Yulu, the plant creature, Araya, exclaimed joyfully, bowing in gratitude. The other musicians could only look on with envy. They only received the basic service fee, while Araya obviously won the favor of that eternal true god the most. At the deepest part of the Dreamflower Tower's grand formation lay an unassuming little tower. A figure in a loose robe stood there, overlooking almost the entire Dreamflower Tower, taking everything in view. Master, said the green-robed attendant respectfully, that eternal true god has left, and he also paid with a cosmic sand. The Dreamflower Tower master nodded slightly. Tell me all his information in detail. Yes, the green-robed attendant respectfully began. His servant had visited us multiple times before, but this unfamiliar eternal true god was here for the first time. He seemed to only care about the music and illusion techniques at the Dreamflower Tower. Those musicians are all true gods of void space, so theoretically, their impact on an eternal true god should be very minimal, said the green-robed attendant. But he seems to really enjoy it. Even to the point of shedding tears upon listening, it is indeed quite inconceivable, the green-robed attendant, who was also confused, added. And from what he said, he will come again. With a light smile, the Dreamflower Tower master said, every creature is unique. This unfamiliar eternal true god may just be more susceptible to emotional fluctuations. If those musicians' illusion techniques have such an influence on him, if the Tower Master were to take action personally, the green-robed attendant whispered, he might develop an ardent obsession with the Tower Master. The Dreamflower Tower Master looked out the window. Over the eons, only 2 eternal true gods had developed an infatuation with her. After all, eternal true gods have extraordinary wills. Even if they get immersed temporarily, they would revert to their senses once the illusion was over. Very few would truly become enamored with her. When he comes next time, tell him that I will hold a 100 Flowers banquet in 10 days and invite him to attend, the Dreamflower Tower Master said softly. Yes, Tower Master, the green-robed attendant replied respectfully. A day in the land of origin is very long, and Luofeng over the following days aside from cultivation, was taken by Morosa to various places for different types of consumption, broadening his horizons. When Luofeng returned to the Dreamflower Tower, he also received an invitation. Supreme, the green-robed attendant greeted him enthusiastically, my tower master will host the 100 Flowers banquet in 10 days. Many eternal true gods from Huang City will be invited, and the tower master has also invited the Supreme to attend. The Dreamflower Tower master's 100 Flowers banquet? Luofeng was surprised. In 10 days. Yes, in 10 days. It might be several eras before the tower master holds the next 100 Flowers banquet, said the green-robed attendant. Luofeng smiled. Since I'm invited, I would be happy to attend and look forward to witnessing the tower master's mastery over illusion techniques. May I ask for the Supreme's honored name? The 100 Flowers banquet requires some preparations in advance, the green-robed attendant said. Luofeng replied. The green-robed attendant made a point to remember this name firmly. This 100 Flowers banquet was actually for this very eternal true god Luohe before him. If Luohe became fervently enamored with the Dreamflower Tower master, then her influence in Huang City would naturally increase. On the outskirts of the primordial cosmos, the mountain-sitting guest was very reclusive, hardly interacting with other true gods. At the moment he left his own small cosmos and headed toward Luofeng's. It's only been over 10,000 eras since I left the land of origin, but time flows tens of thousands of times faster in the regions of the primordial cosmos. I have waited here for far too long. Throughout this elongated time, I've remained but a true god, and made no progress in strength, lamented the mountain-sitting guest, his ancient face tinged with desolation, as he endured the torment of time's passage. Thinking this, the mountain-sitting guest continued his journey towards Luofeng's small cosmos, and finally, he could vaguely see that vast cosmos. The mountain-sitting guest paused, his eyes widening as he carefully observed Luofeng's small cosmos. The rate of primal chaotic current absorption has slowed down significantly, said the mountain-sitting guest, somewhat excited. It looks like Luofeng's godly body has finally grown to its limit. His small cosmos, spanning hundreds of billions of light-years in diameter, absorbs vast amounts of primal chaotic energy every moment. Having continued for so long, the accumulated total should put his godly body between 15 and 20 billion kilometers tall in the land of origin, calculated the mountain-sitting guest. As the former god King Jin, he was very accurate in estimating energy scales. Good. Excitement filled the mountain-sitting guest's eyes. With such a massive godly body far surpassing his peers, once he becomes a godly king, even if 10 or 8 godly kings join forces, they couldn't compare to him in terms of divine power advantage. With Luofeng there's hope for my revenge, thought the mountain-sitting guest, harboring endless hatred. Everything he valued most had been destroyed by the 3 sovereigns of Shur Kingdom. His sister-in-law and wife, his friends and brothers, his many fellow disciples. All were gone. From that day on, the mountain-sitting guest had only one thought, revenge. For this he spared no expense. Everything he did in the primordial cosmos was for this single goal. Fortunately he had cultivated Luofeng. My strength is much weaker than that of Tianquan, the leader of the 3 sovereigns of Shur Kingdom. I only managed to escape death by relying on a secret treasure. A direct confrontation is impossible for me, the mountain-sitting guest was well aware. Only with Luofeng's growth do I hold hope for vengeance. Just with the enormous advantage of his godly body, Luofeng should be able to overwhelm the 3 sovereigns of Shur Kingdom, the mountain-sitting guest muttered to himself. After Luofeng set off on his reincarnation journey to the land of origin, the mountain-sitting guest continued to stay in the primordial cosmos region, intending to understand the divine power capacity of Luofeng's godly body. Now the mountain-sitting guest was reassured. It's time to prepare for my reincarnation. I've been away from the land of origin far too long. The mountain-sitting guest immediately headed toward his own small cosmos and began his final preparations before his reincarnation attempt.